Ham United are absolutely crapping it over the potential suspension or ban, lifetime ban, should we say, of Lucas Paqueta. That's what we're going to be discussing today, primarily. Well, this morning at least. Something else might crop up this afternoon. You never know. Before I do, just thanks for the comments yesterday. Actually, I asked for your opinions on Jarrod Bowen's performance for England. Sometimes you're never quite sure if you're looking at a performance through sort of claret and blue tinted spectacles. Was I seeing something that others didn't? There were a few, well, the commentators, not you lot. There were a few commentators and a few people on social media who appeared to think that Bowen was pretty poor, erratic. I think did Darren Bent call him erratic? Maybe it was that. I thought he was good. I thought he looked good. So it was pretty good to a bit of confirmation there that what I wasn't sort of, my eyes weren't deceiving me, because a lot of you seem to think Bowen had a really good performance as well. Hope he's on the plane, the train, the boat, whatever it is, to go to the Euros. That would be really good, wouldn't it? Certainly, I think well deserved. He's sort of maintained his form throughout the season. Actually, it can't be easy, can it? I think, when you're in a team that is, goes through large periods of the season. We did have a few months where we were pretty damn crap, weren't we, really? And there was also a time when Antonio wasn't available and Paqueta wasn't available, who we'll be discussing a bit, and Kudus. And there was a point where he was sort of leading the attack on his own, Bowen. So I think well deserved. I don't think he'd let anybody down, which is a phrase I absolutely hate. Can't believe I just said it. Anyway, let's get on to Lucas Paqueta. Right, so the club are crapping it, as I mentioned earlier, and to such an extent that they're actually preparing for next season without him financially. Now, a lot of crap came out yesterday. I say a lot of crap. Some of it might be true. Some of it might not be, but there were a lot of things being passed off as fact in regard to the Lucas Paqueta case. The one thing we do know as fact is that the FA are not going to release many legal details early. They're really not. They're not going to want to give anyone the steer, any advantage on this, and sort of the suggestion that the FA are going to start leaking their legal details to somebody on Twitter who's got 20,000 followers. It's just absolutely preposterous. However, I do think there's going to be some truth that's come out of the details and out of the proceedings. What I do know for absolute certain, though, is that the club are very, very nervous about the situation, and they are preparing it in terms of the money, that they're preparing in terms of the balance sheet, in terms of preparing for next season. They are anticipating that we might not have Lucas Paqueta, not just not have him, but the club are preparing for the fact that there may well be a sort of lifetime ban, and actually not only do we lose the player, we lose the asset. Now, I think publicly the club are going to continue to support him. Well, not just publicly, they'll support him privately as well. They're certainly doing everything they can, offering him all the support that they can. But there is a genuine worry from within the club now that we are going to lose the player. And actually, what could potentially happen is that we may well get to use him at the start of the season, because this thing's going to take a very, very long time. Let me tell you some of the rumours that there were yesterday, and there were countless rumours. So I think the first one was that the FA were growing increasingly confident they would get a prosecution. The FA aren't going to say that stuff. They're not even going to leak that stuff. The FA will have employed really, really high-powered legal advice on this. It's just not the sort of stuff you leak. So whether or not that's the truth, I don't know. The other thing that came out was some details of the betting, quite possibly. So, for those of you that don't know, Paqueta, or Paqueta, as the island is called, comes from Paqueta Island. And the suggestion is that it was reported by West Ham sponsors Betway that there have been some irregular betting patterns from Paqueta Island around some matches that Paqueta had played in. I'm going to go back to Paqueta, actually, because he's Paqueta when he's scoring lots of goals, Paqueta when he's not so good. So anyway, I'm not saying he's guilty, by the way. Anyway, the suggestion was that there were up to 20 bets, some of them ranging from as little as £6 to as high as £20. I might have the figures slightly wrong, but it's not just me who's got the figures wrong. The rumour might be wrong. Now, it was understood that the maximum that had been yielded from these 20 bets with sort of minimal stakes have been £100,000. So 20 odd stakes of relatively small amounts were placed, and they yielded winnings of 100 grand when all the bets were placed together. That's what the rumour is. It may well just be a rumour, right? Now, what I would say is, if that were true, would be a hell of a risk for somebody who probably definitely earns more than that a week, to risk his whole career for that. So that's the first thing that makes me think, I'm not sure how true it is. I do wonder if that would have been flagged up by Betway. Maybe it would. I'm sure they got software and algorithms that sort of figure out when there's something a little bit naughty going on. So that was the first one. Sorry, that was the second bit. Something else that also transpired later on during the day was that this thing was going to carry on for quite some time, and that he would be able to play for the majority of next season. I just can't see that being the case. Paqueta has apparently, or Paqueta, has asked for more time from his legal team to make his case. There's so much stuff here that you just don't really know what's going on. But what is absolutely clear is that, well, what's clear is there's a lot of confusion. But what is absolutely clear is that the club are slightly concerned about this. Now, I don't think that's because necessarily the club have been given a steer on the success or failure of the case, but maybe they're just looking at how robustly the FA are pursuing it. And they're looking at the worst case scenario, and so they should. West Ham have to prepare for life without the player. Now, that's going to change all manner of things. Firstly, that's going to change the transfer policy in terms of who we're buying, and also it's going to make things a little bit more difficult in terms of our outgoings. If we had sort of banked for a lot of the season on Manchester City coming and giving us 80 million, and that was going towards the transfer budget, then that's obviously quite a hit. If you've got a new manager coming in, you've got a director of football who thinks they're playing with, I don't know, let's call it, whatever, 180 million, and suddenly they're playing with 100 million. I've plucked that figure out of the air. Then those are very, very different set of parameters that you've got to work within. So I believe that West Ham are probably going to do a couple of things. We will either look to replace him right now, or we'll keep some money back to look to replace him in January. Whatever happens, Julian Lopetegui is in a really awkward situation with West Ham at the moment, because he's got a plan for next season, and the whole premise of Lopetegui being appointed, the narrative that you hear over and over again from the club, he's prepared. He's prepared for next season. He already knows how that first day is going to go, and all the players report back for training. He knows how it's going to go because he's already arranged, implemented, designed the training regimes. He's designed a fitness regime for each and every player, and all of that sort of stuff. Or there's nothing going to undo preparation quite like not knowing how many players you got. If we're to understand that Lopetegui is a manager who plays passing football, let's just call it that, then Paqueta suits his style, right? He's the type of player that's going to thrive and flourish within that. You certainly wouldn't feel that it's one less player you've got to buy. I think that's what I'm saying. So what's going to happen if he's not there? Well, that means that some of the money that might have been highlighted for one of the two centre-backs, maybe one of the left-wingers, I say one of the left-wingers, we're linked with lots and lots. It was quite funny, actually, looking at the news with the Guilherme thing. Sort of, it's been the day before yesterday. Basically, the day before yesterday it was on, off, on, off, on, off. Yesterday it was just on. However, despite the fact that that deal was still on, we were still linked with Jota Silva, who I quite like. I think looks a good player, by the way. If we've got to replace Paqueta, then surely it's not going to be two wingers, is it? It's going to be one winger, or not going to be two centre-backs. It's going to be one centre-back. It just changes things pretty drastically. But it was very evident that the club were very much looking at it and saying, well, you know what, this may well just have to be a net spend. What's our net spend? I think a lot of people read that and feared the worst. I mean, that means we'll only sell what we bring in. Well, no, there's going to be money that's left over from last season, and there will be a profit from last season. Absolutely no doubt about it at all. Net spend will include the next £33 million instalment of Declan Rice money. The net spend, I do believe, will probably be between 80 and 100 million. But if you've got to go and replace Paqueta out of that, then there's a big chunk of that is going, right? So it doesn't look too good. But I just thought it was really, really interesting that the club are saying we're preparing for the worst. It's a very, very different narrative to what was being said, all right, many months ago, which was, there was, I think, a confidence within the club that the FA really didn't have anything. There's nothing. They didn't think there was anything was going to come of it. If anything, it was a minor hindrance that it might have stopped the original Man City move going through, but also maybe just something that had benefited West Ham, allow West Ham to keep on hold of a player for another year. But there certainly was never any indication 10 months ago, 9 months ago, 8 months ago even, that a lifetime ban would be pending. And that's the final bit of news that was really doing the rounds yesterday. The FA are going to push for a lifetime ban. Well, again, I think that's a little bit of a red herring then. Why would the FA release that information? And to be fair, it's their rules. They are the Football Association, right? They make the rules on this stuff. They can pretty much ban him for what they want. There's a precedent for giving someone a 10-year ban, as you know that, which would obviously end his career. So it's a 10-year ban. It would be lifetime. But it is really, isn't it? Because, if he's whatever he is now, 26, 27, he's not going to be playing football at 37. Maybe in the MLS. Maybe he will. What's Lionel Messi? However old Lionel Messi is now, however old Cristiano Ronaldo is now. But by and large, it's a lifetime ban. But I just don't understand. I don't really see why the FA would offer up that information. So I don't know. I do think a lot of it is throwaway stuff. But the one thing is that the club are worried, and that makes me worried.